you started right here with First Things First. You can catch it all Monday through Friday only on FS1. Back here, First Things First. Super Bowl champ Chris Canty is here. Thanks for hanging with us, Chris.
Jacket right there, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Chris.
Stepping the wardrobe up a little bit.
I've had this for quite some time. Thank you.
Nice. I like how you put that together. Trying to coordinate.
You know what? My God.
That's my
See, why would you put me in that situation, man?
We'll get to Big Ben in a second, guys. A couple of highlights from last night.
How you like this outfit?
Gavs and Sons and Josh Jackson. Nick, say something.
All right, here's what I'm going to say. To quote Chris Canty, you're a bad guy. You're just a bad...
Not all the time.
You have implored me to grow out my hair to see what it looks like, and now you just bully me about it every day.
I knew it was the off-season for football, so I just needed some more material.
The Knicks. Kenny, your guy. Luke Cornett driving down the lane. Throws down the two-handed dunk.
Luke Cornett is my guy, Jonah?
Yes. Because he's on the Knicks.
Is Luke Cornett even going to be on the team?
You're the only one covering him.
Look at this.
All right, Hornets Jazz. This one didn't count, but what about the windmill by Donovan Mitchell?
Great lob, just nonchalant.
You know what I see when I look at Donovan Mitchell? A point guard that should have been with the Knicks.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's fine. He missed some draft picks. That happens. A lot of people missed on Donovan Mitchell.
A lot of people missed on Donovan Mitchell. But
I mean, who didn't?
Outstanding.
It reminds me of the old Louisville, the original Dr. Duncanstein. Gerald Griffin. That's how he used to dunk the basketball.
All right, let's move on to Big Ben now.
Kids out there, Google that.
Much has been made of his somewhat passive-aggressive leadership style, and that's me being passive-aggressive about describing it. Ben has been known to take some shots at teammates and coaches, but he folds them into his weekly radio appearance, and many have called on him to stop doing the show. Well, according to reports, Roethlisberger is expected to do just that in an effort to improve relationships with his teammates. Kenny, is this at least a little step in the right direction for Ben as they now get ready to start a new chapter in Pittsburgh?
Well, yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction. I mean, at this point, there aren't any more people that have been considered distractions that are in the building, right? You got rid of Le'Veon Bell, the whole contract dispute that he had that was public with Kevin Colbert, their general manager. But then you also decided that you were going to trade away what has been the most prolific receiver in the NFL the last decade in Antonio Brown. Somebody that has made waves from the Facebook Live comments to not showing up week 17 this past year when they were fighting to get into the playoffs. Those guys are now out of the building. So in terms of the people that have been a part of the distractions in Pittsburgh, there's only one of those guys left, and that's Ben Roethlisberger. So I think that when you start to look at the entire situation, he's out of excuses. There are no more people in the building to blame for any of the distractions or the lack of the success that they've had on the field. Like, we look at this team in terms of talent the past decade, and we say they've underachieved. Well, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger has to be a part of that. And to me, when you look back on the entire situation, the consideration of getting rid of the radio show, to me, at a minimum, is an admission that it could have been a distraction.
Yes, and I like the fact, and I'm sure you appreciate at this stage of his career, given everything he's accomplished, if he was self-aware enough to be able to do it himself. The best situation for the Pittsburgh Steelers would be if someone, that being Mike Tomlin or Kevin Colbert, would have addressed it with him and recommended that he give up the radio show. This would have been part of my contract negotiation, because there's certain things in NFL locker rooms, it's beyond your ability. It's what kind of leader you might be. Like, I can understand if you have a great resume. Eli Manning's a great example. Eli's also a great role model in the locker room as far as coming to work every day and dealing. So the Giants, like NFL teams for years, they pay for that. So you might not be the player, but you are the type of leader that they need moving forward. Minnesota used to always tell me, the general manager, now listen, you're here for your leadership too. That's part of the baked in with you being one of the highest paid wide receivers. So I think with Ben, I like the fact, but I'll like it would be the best case scenario if someone from above him had recommended this and part of this new contract extension, because I'm looking for even greater leadership from you in these next 2 to 4 years, however long you want to play.
And that's a very easy thing you put in a contract. And by the way, we have exclusive rights to you on our Pittsburgh Steelers radio network for a interview, no more than 12 times a year, and you won't give it to anybody else. That way it just removes it, even the possibility if you were to want to go back on it. But I want to give him credit if this ends up being true, because it is a signal to his teammates. Even though publicly, Kevin Colbert has said, it's me and 52 kids. Even though publicly the team has moved on from the other Bs and the 3 Bs. I know privately and amongst us, I can do better too. So it's not just about not doing the interview and the 2 to 4 times throughout the year that his teammates or his coach are going to have to answer for what he said in that interview. It's for right now in that locker room, him being able to communicate without sitting down with each guy individually and saying, guys, I know I need to do better as well. I know that I need to be a better leader, even if publicly the team has made it out to be, I am a perfect leader. I know I'm not. And I can do better, and I will do better, because there was no win in him doing the radio show anymore. He initially did it, according to people that know him and know why he did it, know the radio station, because he wanted Pittsburgh to get to know who he is, the fans to know him outside of the football player.
And I feel like at that point in his career, Ben had a legitimate reason. When he took over the Pittsburgh Steelers, they were a defensive dominant team. They already had their stars. They already had their legendary players that were the team leaders. And then he went through some, even though success on the field, he went through some struggles off the field. So I can understand at that point why he wanted to try to get the optics out there to be able to express himself.
There's a real reason for it, but the reason's gone now. And now you also have to find a way, when there is already any new player that comes in the locker room is going to be 15 years younger than him or 10 to 15 years younger than him, and probably feel, wait, who is Ben Roethlisberger as a guy? He's now sending a message to the locker room as a whole. I know I can do better. And so if this ends up being the case, I give him full credit, because this was the easiest change he could make and the most public change he could make to signal to everyone, I know that this is something I need to improve on.
Well, I don't know how much credit I'm going to give him if he ends up not doing the interviews this week, because I'm with Cece on this one. I don't think this was a decision that Ben Roethlisberger made in a vacuum. I think there was somebody in the organization that got in his ear and said, you know what, if we're going to give you this type of contract extension for the next 2 or 3 years, then this is going to have to be a part of it. Now, it's a shame that you had to let all that talent walk out of the door to get to this point. That's my biggest thing. I mean, when you look at this team, they've clearly underachieved, and at the heart of it has been your quarterback, who has not been a stabilizing force in that locker room with strong personalities. You would expect that the quarterback would be an extension of the head coach. Ben Roethlisberger hadn't done that with Mike Tomlin. I mean, when you listen to them post-game interviews, I mean, some of the things that Ben Roethlisberger says contradicts the head coach.
Of course, but here's the thing. Even if they did bring it up to him, even if they did say we want to put it in the contract, this was not going to be the reason a contract didn't get done. And so if he had said, I'm doing this radio show, whether you guys want me to or not, that wouldn't have prevented an extension. So
I understand what you're saying in that, but there's a level of self-awareness that's necessary in order to be a really good leader. And it's clear that Ben Roethlisberger doesn't have that on his own. So I don't understand what we can expect from him moving forward in terms of being a leader, in terms of being somebody that's capable of getting everybody on his team to buy into the same agenda.
Someone else would do it compared to depending on Ben to do it.
Sure.
And he's also going to have a bunch of microphones in his face after games, where he probably is going to have the same agenda.
Understood. But I have been incredibly critical of Ben Roethlisberger, and I said on this show 2 months ago, you know what he could do if I'm him? What I would tell him, and advice I would give him, quit that radio show. And if he did end up quitting the radio show, even if he had to have his arm twisted to do it, and we don't know if he did or didn't, I'm going to give him credit for that. Now, there's a lot more to being a good leader. There's a lot more to that than just this. But on April 2nd, this is the first step he can take. It's a positive step. I'll give him credit for it.
It's always my favorite part of the show when Nick goes.
I have the day on my watch.
No,
yeah, you can't do one good segment. I mean,
credit to somebody.
You act like a jerk.
Hey.
You know, like, hey, man.
Okay.
Canty, we'll see you a little bit later. Got to take a break. Coming up, will Odell and Jarvis Landry be the best wide